Hello, hello, beautiful ladies. I'm Elise Smith, your Christian business strategist, and you are watching and listening to Divinely Driven Results, where we are going to teach you how to implement divine strategies for real results in your business. Now, I have to ask you guys, we've had those up and down moments in our businesses so many times, and sometimes your dreams just feel like they're so far away, like you're never going to get to them, and you start to kind of lose hope a little bit. This never happens to any of us, right? And sometimes we feel stuck and frustrated. And the thing is that all of this, the antidote is really to wait on the Lord. But waiting doesn't mean we have to do nothing. So I'm so excited that we have our amazing guest on today. This is Lauren Dreyer, and she is a speaker, consultant, author, and CEO of Living Life with Lauren. So thanks so much for being on the show today, Lauren. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Okay, thanks for having me. So I decided that at one point I wanted to be a speaker. I had grown up with scars since I was about 6 years old and went through pretty much then until my mid-20s with a whole lot of negative self-talk. And I didn't realize that I was doing that, but every time I would look in the mirror or see all these other girls with these like perfect faces, and I just think it'd be really nice to have that. So I found myself mid-20s with really pretty low self-esteem and self-confidence, and I found myself angry for really, as I found out, no good reason. So when I decided that I wanted to do some professional speaking, I wanted to do it on self-image. I wanted to help women, or really anyone, learn to get past that external self-image and build up the confidence, because the internal is really what matters before you can figure out how to accept yourself and feel comfortable in your own skin on the outside. So that was really my thing. So I took a rather deep personal development dive and learned that that mindset was really just a tiny piece of self-image, was a tiny piece of that. And I developed a huge passion for mindset and how figuring out how to manage your mindset and pull yourself out of some of those nasty days and how to change that self-talk. All of those things can so drastically turn your life really just completely around. And so since then, I with all of the tricks and things that I learned, developed, all the things that I did, I decided to write a book. And it started out with my journey. I wrote it 3 different times, and it ended up being a step-by-step of where I started and how I moved through all of those things. And each chapter is another step. So it's really pretty much a framework of everything I did, with all of my memories, my experiences, all of my childhood things that influenced all that added in. So now I am on a mission to help people pull themselves out of funks, out of feeling stuck in that adulthood thing of, I'm not happy where I am. How do I learn to change this and move on to where I want to be? How do I just live and be excited about my life? And here we are.
I love that. And I love that concept of like, how do I change this, right? Like, it's not just this is how it is and I'm going to live with it, but it's more of how do I change it? Asking that very specific question is super powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story. I mean, you're just a beautiful person inside and out. So even if you're on a podcast, like, she's just gorgeous. So don't let her fool you. But the question I have, so I ask all of my guests to come up with a topic. Why do you feel like that these 3 tips to waiting patiently on the Lord is really what God wants you to speak on today? How has that helped you in your business?
I have always been a very, for the most part, patient person. And I would sit there and say, okay, this might take a while, but I'll figure it out. But when it comes to bigger things, in my case, getting to be in the place in a business that I want, getting to be that experienced public speaker that I want. I had this dream all of a sudden that I couldn't unhear. One day I sat there and I said, what could I do to impact people? And I said, I'm gonna do public speaking. I can reach people with that. And I I love to have that. I love to help people have that transformation. And so, but all of those things, it takes so long to actually get to the place where you know where you want to go. And I've always been very overwhelmed by this is where I'm starting, this is where I want to be. How the heck do I get there? And I know that I'm not the only one that has that problem. And we don't know how to get there. And we do research and we find the people to connect with. Some of it doesn't work out, some of it does. And we get frustrated. We get so frustrated to the point that some people give up and some people don't. But I got to the point where I started developing that relationship with Jesus and God and all these people. And I started to see things happen. And I started to say, okay, here's what's going to happen if I lean into this faith, if I develop this relationship. I'm going to have that support that is only this support meant for me, individual for everybody, obviously. But so many times I have said, okay, I'm frustrated. I can't do this on my own. I can't figure out these things on my own. So I'm at this point where either take this out of my vision, take this off of my heart, or help me make something happen. Because I'm getting frustrated. I just can't wait anymore. And lo and behold, not very long after that, here is someone, here is, someone makes some off the wall comment that I'm like, okay, here we go. Get up and keep going. And it's so interesting because I can't tell you how many times it's happened. And all of a sudden it's okay. This is the next way that I need to grow. This is the next thing that I need to work on. And we have no idea what that is. But I have learned to build that trust in, okay, this might take me a minute to do, but if I work on this and I have the guts and take that leap and just keep going and trust that it's moving me in the right direction, I've learned to have more patience. I'm still very much learning because getting where we want to be there, right now. We wanted to be there yesterday, but unfortunately that's not how it works. And you have to learn to do the work and then surrender the work. And that's a really hard concept, to do that and to give up the control after you've worked so hard to do anything.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I hope you guys are taking notes because do the work and surrender the work is golden. I love that. That's beautiful. And so what would you say is that first tip to waiting patiently on the Lord?
Probably to learn how to listen. That was a very hard step for me because I would sit in quiet time, which I do every single morning, and I'd sit there and I'd get frustrated. I'm like, I'm not getting anything, where's it coming from? And I was getting so frustrated that I wasn't sitting there open to whatever was coming in my brain, because I was trying to force it so much. And learning to clear your brain and not force it, saying, well, this is the answer I'm looking for. Why isn't it coming? Because sometimes I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, you get what you need, not necessarily what you want. And that's kind of how I've learned about it. Is I'm definitely still practicing this, but learning to listen and be open in a lot of different ways, whether it be quiet time, whether it be someone just having a conversation, saying something that they're talking about something different. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that relates to exactly what I prayed about.
Mhm.
And it's just that subtle message of like, I see you, keep going. This is not what you're expecting, but I'm going to use this person to get to you so that you can see that I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how if you look back, you can see the hand of God in your life, right? It's like that answer should not have come from that person or from this way, but God has an incredible way of using his angels here on earth to be angels for each one of us. And I love that concept of learning how to listen and taking that time to listen. I know that one thing we teach in our daily daddy-daughter time with our heavenly daddy, right, is that I like to just have 3 minutes of trying to clear my brain of as anything as I can, close all those 500 tabs that we have internet open up in our head, right? And just say, okay, Lord, what do you want me to hear, see, do, or, what's my next step? And try and just sit there for 3 minutes and only focus on hearing his voice. And as we do that, I like how you said this too, is that it's practice, right? We're practicing how to listen to the Lord. We're practicing how to have patience. So beautiful. What is number 2, or is being open number 2?
Being number 2 would probably for me be open, because learning to, it's hard to open your brain to that, but then learning to listen and being open to whatever you get, that strong urge or that sudden, like, it's hard to explain, of this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for instance, yesterday I did that practice and I said, okay, show me who to talk to, bring someone to me that I need to help. And someone randomly found me, and it was online, but they found me. And I said, okay, I'm not just gonna, dismiss this person as some weird person on the internet, like we so much do sometimes these days, because who knows what's gonna happen. And she talked to me, and I looked at a couple things and I made a comment and I said, I really like you were talking about this. And it just led straight into, I said, hey, here's something I'm doing. I'd love to send you an invite. And it's just a supportive environment and everything. And it was so crazy how all of a sudden, like, it just led down this path. I'm like, okay, how would I have ever met this person, rather than she was sent to me? And now all of a sudden we have this instant relationship.
Yeah, I love that about prospecting. Like, that's one of the best things about being in business, is to like meet total strangers and have them become your friends. So that's really, really neat. And so I like that, being open to receiving, right? It doesn't matter. We don't judge where it comes from or how it gets to us. It's just being open to what we receive and having that gratitude from the Lord for sending it to us. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, what is tip number 3?
Action.
Awesome.
Not that the first 2 were even all easy, because you're acting on faith.
Yeah.
But I feel like action is the hardest one to do because it means putting yourself out there. It means getting out of your comfort zone. It means taking action and not necessarily knowing how it's going to turn out. And that is so scary, but having that trust that this is where I'm being led. So one thing I do is when I'm in the middle of prayer, I say, okay, show me obviously who to talk to, what to do, where I need to go, and then give me the will and the courage to take action and do what you need to do. Because that person yesterday, I could have easily, dismissed her and just been like, you're some weird person on the internet who, who knows what's going to happen. But instead I was like, no, I'm going to look into this a little bit, or, I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to engage, and I'm not just going to dismiss her like the next person, and just taking that action, whatever it is, having that scary conversation, or starting the thing that you want to start, going to a group that you've never been to before, whatever it is, but putting aside that fear and doing it, knowing it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to serve somehow, and it's going to take you to where you need to go.
Yes, absolutely. You're speaking my language, girl. Especially the action part, because man, that's how we show our faith, right? Faith is an action word. And so the only way that we can really show our faith, it doesn't really do us any good to just have faith in our heart, right? We've got to have that action to be able to show it. And to be able to put aside that fear of the adversary trying to stop us from achieving our goals and our purposes. Like, that's why he's given you that dream in your heart. So this has just been so beautiful. So let's recap here. So tip number one is learning how to listen, right? Taking that time with the Lord and listening. The number 2 step is be open to whatever you have, like whatever you receive, right? Regardless of where it comes from or how it comes, be open to that. And step number 3 is taking action with that faith and showing our faith through the action. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show here today. So tell us, how can people find you and find out more about what you're doing?
Absolutely. So you can always find me on social media. The main ones I use are Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is just Lauren Dreyer, and Instagram is L_Dreyer. You can also find me on LinkedIn if you'd like to do that, or you can always contact me through my website, and that is livelifewithlauren.com.
Awesome. Awesome, Lauren. Any last thoughts that you want to leave with the audience today?
My last thought would probably be open to the relationship that you form naturally and don't force it, because that is exactly how I was at first. And I tried to force everything instead of just being open to what it came and developing the relationship that I needed to develop.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Great parting words here for sure. We will see you guys next time on Divinely Driven Results.